Alright, settings are correct, and we are back with Minecraft Modded 1.19.2, mostly featuring Crossroads at this point. That's the chief of our exploration right now. Of course, Tinker's Construct hasn't gone anywhere, and neither have any of the other little doodads that I've been playing with up to now. But right now, we have things to do. Things that involve turning a lot of cobblestone into redstone. So, off we go to the Beam Lab. With our water centrifuge infinitely producing salt. Our little egg farm. The eggs are egging. That's the important part. The eggs are definitely eggulating. This is... what kind of beam is this? I think this is a charge beam. Yeah, that's a charge beam. Bzz. Not enough. Make sure our stored time beam is in risk. I do hate that I have to do this one at a time. In theory, it could be improved. I could have a cobble generator and a fluctuating piston constantly pushing cobblestone out. And then a beam pointed at the ever-growing cobblestone column, a drill at the furthest extent, but that would still waste laser. Unless I somehow synchronized all the timers to release a beam, but only a very brief beam, then fire the piston. It would be a bit of a timing challenge. And honestly, I'd rather do it by hand than go to all that trouble. Then again, it could be done. There's that tiny bean, too weak to accomplish anything. The leftover. This is already 2 stacks of redstone. Oop. I had shift pressed there. Not sure why. Alright. We'll mill this. Then get into the chemistry part of it. Get some normal cacti planted. I think I don't need any more combustible. Not for a while, anyway. And it has no beam use. Apparently you can turn it to black dye, which does black dye things. Nothing particularly special. The cane farm, well, it's working. Cane farm is not the greatest, but it serves. Iron ingots, a copper ingot. Our smeltery is just full of a bunch of random nonsense. There's a block of rose gold in here. Gold nuggets, a block of queen slime. I mean, the block of queen slime can stay. That's actually a pretty good thing to have in there. Now, redstone. Redstone have to go into reagent. And then I can't philosopher's stone, but I can heat it into quicksilver. That was important. And also sulfur dioxide. Effect Disinfect. Anyway, we have our hot thing at 450, which is not hot enough. Well, it separates at 360, but it doesn't melt until much higher. Huh? It's full. Something's not right. Oh yeah. One splits into sulfur dioxide and quicksilver. Wait, that doesn't make sense. Cinnabar, redstone, melts at 580. But it can never melt at 580 because at 360 it splits, so molten quicksilver is not a thing. And we see some dust particles and some bubbles. So this flask contains a solid and a liquid ingredient. The solid ingredient refuses to come out. We have quicksilver, which is not solid. And sulfur dioxide, which is definitely not solid. So despite showing dust, we have two liquid ingredients in here. Alright, let's get the cooler ready. Bring this stuff straight down to absolute zero. Then take out the SO2 and the quicksilver. I can even do that again with no issue. Another 50 redstone, split with heat, then cooled, quicksilver and frozen sulfur dioxide. Meaning we have several very interesting chemical components here. Now what did I need the vanadium for? I don't think it's to make oil. I was making alchemical crystal, alchemical salt, and quicksilver. 1 to 2. At cold temperatures in the presence of vanadium. One to 2 makes 3. So we have the same sum here. There's the flask, the vanadium. Throw in all that frozen quicksilver, and then the salt. I should check the book to see if there's a faster way to get ingredients into a flask. There's a fluid injector. I don't see the use. There may be a use at some point. Do I just need a hopper? That's not right. Why do I still have salt? Did I get the math backwards again? I did. It's 1 salt to 2 quicksilver. So then 40 and 20 and the vanadium. Actually, I'm going to keep this. Just stuff that all in the flask. There we go. Oh. And it transmutes instantly. Alchemical crystal. And I needed this to make, well, not those with. It does a lot of interesting things. But I need the crystal Florence flask. I don't really know what most of the rest of this does. Apparently it makes a gem cast. But I can't cast a gem of alchemical crystal, so it doesn't matter. But there we are. A crystal Florence flask. The chief significance of which is that it can hold Philosopher's Stone. So 1 salt, 1 quicksilver, 1 sulfur, 1 gold. In the presence of electricity. At a cold temperature. Well, that's actually not all that difficult. There's the salt, the gold, now sulfur and quicksilver. Sulfur, quicksilver. In the presence of aqua regia, I have regia salt. So this is 1 of everything. It has to be cold, and it needs to be electrified for the reaction. So I'll put the flask in here to chill. Add these 4 ingredients cold, which do nothing on their own. The regia salt, which should do nothing. So I'm getting skittish there because it might have exploded if I miscalculated anything. And now I have an extremely cold flask with all of the necessary ingredients. So all I should have to do is take this flask and electrify it. Not even in a cold environment, because it brings the cold with it. Oh, cheeky Enderman, trying to help my animals escape. No. Alright, so I take these things, let's bring them to a safe space over here. Where I have my electrolyzer. Tesla coil. Insert the Leyden jar battery. It doesn't work. Oh, it doesn't work because only one of these faces is orange. Orange being an output face. Now if I insert the battery, it activates. So there's the full flask. We now have a flask containing 1 Philosopher's Stone and 1 Aqua Regia. Everything according to plan. And there's my stone. Well, that was easy. And didn't explode. Salt factory has expired. That's fine. 600 salt is a lot of salt. Alright, so now I have a Philosopher's Stone. Which is supposed to give me access in alchemy to a bunch more substances. Filters selected reagents to the side. Requires Stasisol, which I don't have access to. Combining Philosopher with Practitioner goes boom, so don't do that. But with Philosopher, I can get Quicksilver and Muriatic directly from Iron. Quicksilver and Asiatic from Tin. Quicksilver and Regia directly from Gold. Redstone splits into Aether, Quicksilver, and Sulfur Dioxide. What is Aether? Don't know yet. And Copper splits into Quicksilver and Vitriol. Slag splits directly into Phlogiston and Sulfur. Bedrock splits into Adamant and Salt. Now we can do something with all that bedrock. And finally, Gunpowder is Phlogiston and Sulfur. Gunpowder is identical to slag. Does slag explode? No. But gunpowder explodes at 200 and explodes if it's electrified. So just don't ignite the gunpowder. Simple. Why then does gunpowder not explode with phlogiston, which is like the essence of fire? No matter. Philosopher's Stone makes phlogiston, aether, and adamant. And all of these, adamant does not need to be contained in crystal, but the Philosopher's Stone does. Then we have to get to Practitioner. So what is the Practitioner's Stone? Adamant, aether, phlogiston, gold, and regia. So it's gold and the three elements. Well, I guess I need to start splitting some elements then. By using this stone to split, not iron, but redstone for aether, slag for phlogiston, and bedrock for adamant. That's why bedrock was so necessary. It's the only source of adamant. 0 to 100 isothermic. So this is going to be done at room temperature. is take my flask in the heatsink. And Bedrock has one other use that I don't want. I can either take my adamant and salt, or I can lose the adamant and get only salt. Doesn't sound that great to me. So the 59 and 40, which is one shy of the 100 capacity. And let me go ahead and experiment to see if a golden hopper can insert this faster than I can. No, it cannot insert them at all. Alchemy conduits move like pipes. I think I still have to manually insert reagents to turn them from their solid form into reagents. So the high throughput hopper only accelerates things after the point that I want them accelerated in the first place. This is also a slight problem. Doesn't the 5 bedrock dust transform into more than 5? No, 2 and 3. So we don't change the amount of stuff in the flask. Then the stone, poof. Remove the stone, remove the adamant, remove the... Wait, there shouldn't be any leftover dust. It should have all changed. Oh. Because it changes in batches of 5, and that is 4. Now it has all changed. Leftover salt. And we have adamant. Not a lot, but it's a start. There's also the matter of phlogiston and aether. The aether transmutation is not great, but redstone is the only source of it. So I need to go laser some more. Not immediately, but fairly soon. One cinnabar becomes 1, 2, 3 things. And it does this at any temperature. So if I do it at cold, then I know I can remove all of the ingredients that have inconvenient phases. So there's my frozen SM2, frozen silver. Does Aether not freeze? Aether. It does not deliquify. Capacity 20, and I made 30, because of course I did. Well, let's make 10 more. I have 2 files, Aether. Their temperature basically doesn't matter. So that's adamant and Aether. Which leaves phlogiston, which can be made from slag. At any temperature. And while sulfur can be a dust, at room temperature, phlogiston, I believe, is always flame. I don't like the empty tag there. But I guess that's just because it doesn't have a solid form. So 2 slag becomes 1 and 1. So I will need 80 slag to make 40 phlogiston. And then I'll have and then I will have 2 flasks worth, or 2 files worth. Stone, remove the sulfur, stone, remove the sulfur, have 40 phlogiston. And extra sulfur. Adamant makes stasisol. Oh. These are all the elemental reactions that aren't accurate. Emerald and adamant to densus. There's also lumen. I can put it back into bedrock. But that takes a prac stone, which I don't have. Eldrine, Voltus, Fusas, and adamant, aether, flog, gold. In the presence of Regia, can make a prac stone. The problem here is how do I get one aether and a phlogiston? I think there's an obvious answer, and it's kind of silly. It's kind of very silly. Aether. Do you have any explosive reactions? Aside from this one, no. So here's the plan. I take a crystal vial, cram it full of 19 of frozen stuff, then tip 1 aether into it, and remove the frozen stuff. And have a vial with 1 aether in it. We do this again. With 19 frozen SO2, and this could be anything. Add all of the phlogiston it'll fit, which conveniently is 1. Remove the frozen SO2. We have 1 phlogiston. Add the 1 adamant and the 1 gold, and the Regia that needs to catalyze this reaction. And that should make me a practitioner stone. At any cold temperature. That's still very cold. Let me just borrow this flask. And one of these. There should be nothing wrong with this reaction. It's just, it could explode. Even though it's not going to, because I have all the proportions correct, it still theoretically could. I just don't want to do anything that even could possibly explode anywhere near my base. There's the Regia, which is the Regia Salt back, and my Crackstone. Now, don't put Philosophers and Practitioners in the same class, because that explodes and we lose both. How is this still making noise? Oh, because the timer is still toggling that back and forth, even though there's no power in the system. Right. Now I have a Crackstone. Don't combine with the Fillstone. Crackstone makes... well, I make diamond from tin and fusas. Lazurite, bedrock again, lumen, tin and copper by returning... Interesting. So the Philosopher's Stone can split metals into quicksilver and an acid. And then the Practitioner's Stone can rejoin the quicksilver and the key acid to a metal. So I can transmute metals, including the legendary creation of gold from Aqua Regia, which I can produce from non-gold means. Also Eldrine, I can make amethyst from iron and fusas. That seems like an expensive way to make a renewable crystal. Nether quartz, salt and fusas. There's our Voltus, which is an elemental. Ruby, copper and fusas. Well, that will save us going back to the Nether for more rubies if I have to do more beam stuff. Emerald from vanadium and fusas. And there's fusas, which is... it's an elemental reaction. Ooh. A potentially explosive reaction. Voltus, chlorine, sulfur dioxide, and phlogiston makes Ignis Infernum. What the heck is that, and why do I care? It doesn't react with anything. So it must be a phlogiston-like flame phase thing. Elemental, phlogiston, practitioners, terraforming. Terraforming. By combining them with phlogiston or ignis, the effect can be spread by a flame cloud for terraforming. Aether turns things into planes. Dirt to grass, rock to stone, crystal to glass, trees to oak, liquids to water. Aether just turns things into the overworld. Magicae turns things into Mushroom Island. Eldrine sets the biome to hell. Soul Soil, Netherrack, Glowstone. Fusas, the one that makes all the crystals, makes Deep Ocean. Soil to clay, rock to prisma, crystal to sea lanterns, trees to coral, liquids to distilled water. Lumen, desert, soil to sand, rock to sandstone, crystal to salt blocks, trees into bone. That's a little terrifying. And remove liquids. Stasisol, snowy tundra terraform. Soil to snow, rock to packed ice, crystal to blue ice, liquids to ice. Expandus, flower forest. Soil to grass, rock to stone, crystal to honey, tree to oak, liquid to water. If any quicksilver is present, the effect will be changed. Air blocks will be filled in with certain blocks. If any sulfur dioxide is present, the biome will not be changed, but blocks will still be transmuted. So we can terraform, and if any cavorite is present, I don't know what cavorite is, then blocks will not be transmuted, but biomes will still be changed. So I can make splash biome shifters, and also transform blocks in the process. This is quite potent. The ideal mix for terraforming is 1 unit of the terraforming agent, 1 unit of alchemical salt to prevent phlogiston or ignis from destroying blocks, optionally 1 unit of quicksilver, sulfur, or cavorite for modifications, and then as much phlog or ignis as desired to make the effect big. And then shells and files. There's still no mention of why ignis is so special. Phlogiston and ignis are always flame. Oh, I see. I see. So liquids will splash out to 4 blocks. Gases can splash out to 8 blocks. Flame, phlogiston specifically, is half its quantity with a cap of 8 blocks. So gas can go up to 8 blocks depending on its quantity. It's not really clear what the formula is. 16 phlogiston is 8 blocks of flame. But ignis infernum is 4 per, with a cap of 64. This means that range caps out at 16 units of flame reagent. Right, so 16 Ignis is 8 blocks of Phlogiston Flame or 64 blocks of Ignis Flame. So that's the point of Ignis Infernum. Very, very large flame transmutations. Pure flame reagents will destroy any blocks they touch unless there's alchemical salt in the mix. Keep damping powder on hand because flames are destructive. So by using phlogiston, I can make decently sized flame clouds. But Ignis is crazy huge. And this is again a possibly explosive reaction. So this would have to be made one at a time? I wonder if you could make Ignis in batches, as long as the proportions were correct. I don't have any chlorine, though. Frozen chlorine. Effect toxic. It comes from water. It comes from water and mundane salt. Why do I have to combine water and mundane salt when normal water is considered salt water and won't go in here? So I can electrolyze normal salt and water at room temperature to get chlorine. And chlorine goes into Ignis and is also a toxic ingredient in its own right. And that's all it does. We are learning things, not all of which are useful. And we're filling up yet another chest with nonsense and junk. Including 3 batteries, when apparently I needed only 1, if that. I still have all these Aqua Regia grenades for collecting bedrock. Because that's a sentence. And the thing is, I can't even use those glass shells for phlogiston, because phlogiston can only be contained in crystal. Also, there was another reagent that was mentioned. in terraforming. Near the end here. Cavorite. What is Cavorite? Aether Endensis makes Cavorite. It is blocks gravity from gravity what? Block of Cavorite will block the effect of density plates. Density plates, density and anti-density. Push and pull entities. Works with multiple plates, works through walls. One plate overcomes gravity. Bobo. Much heat, much cold. Defy hot-cold dynamics for free. Red metal bar. Gravity Shellant Pass, so a Cavorite block. And the hard bit. Yum Nugget stack in one item. The stack number on one item. So I actually know what this is. The only thing I can think of for a red metal bar is copper. I mean, arguably red. I don't have anything else even remotely red in my ingot list, at least that Crossroads could identify. Tinker's Metals, it doesn't understand. And this weird Kopshoian stuff is from a different discipline. So never mind that. Before we make some assumptions, though, I do have the Bobo list pretty much on speed dial here. Yeah, that's a copper ingot, Cavorite, and the other thing. The other thing is a Yum Nugget. That is something I didn't want to have to get into. But apparently I do. That's back in the fat system. So we have the fat collector that melts food down into raw fat. And then the fat congealer, which turns fat into food items with custom values. Fat congealer. Two rotary connections, top and bottom. It has an output side where it ejects edible blobs. The hunger value is equal to 4 times the top gear. The saturation value is 4 times the bottom gear. And they must have a value greater than or equal to 1. Each blob consumes 100 millibuckets of liquid fat per point and a small amount of rotary power. This is where we may finally get into the nope. Tuning rotary systems this precisely requires the third discipline. Unless I do some very particular gearing. Well, I think I need to access this third thing to get into the bowl of things that we're talking about. I suppose, unless I want to get into terraforming, we are more or less done with alchemy. There are some other things theoretically to play with, like flame-based toxin grenades, or the Tesla ray, if I started making some Voltus, which maybe I should. Chain between unlimited targets within 5 blocks for 7 electric damage. I could roast my entire animal pen with that. And if I had a couple of specimens which were immortal, that might actually be a good idea. It'd take a while to get to, because the cloning thing doesn't want to let me clone more than once a day. But I could do it. So I need a fat I need to unlock the thing. First thing, I need to unlock the third path. Alchemy, Technomancy. Surround a small gear with paper. Well, I have all these gears. This does a few things. The most important of which, for now, is that I get access to the Redstone Master Axis. So 1 Master Axis, two Master Axis, Redstone Axis 1, Redstone Axis 2. And now I need to do something very silly. I need to make 2 extremely heavy gears. 5,000, 9,000, 11, 10, 11, nothing. We'll get into that nothing eventually. And I need to make a rotary system to drive these two giant gears, to use them basically as flywheel batteries. And what luck. I have a rotary system that spins kinda fast. And these giant gears could even be used to have this dynamo setup calmed down. It would add some much needed inertia to the system. And I also, very conveniently, already happen to have a drive shaft that goes all the way down to my lower floor. Gonna need more fluid tubes though. And probably another barrel. Alright, it could be time to horrifyingly unify our food supply. I could also just as easily use this rotary system, but let's not overtax it. As I stare very eagerly at this system, ready to overtax it. I've got to get to the liquid fat tank. Rotary power has to get close to this liquid fat tank. This is the tricky part. Oh, and I haven't even made the machine in question yet. Another iron axle, another rack for some reason. Another rack, tin. Iron axles. The fat congealer, which is what it's all about right now. So I need a way to get this rotary power somewhere closer to this tangle of nonsense, or at least somewhere usable, like this wall maybe, and also split vertically so I can power a gear both above and below my target. Ideally off of a large gear, actually. So I'm not reducing the speed ratio. Oh, before I go any further, I have fluid tubes, so I'm gonna need the wrench. This whole mess is going nowhere without a wrench. I could just get another tube out of this thing. There's no reason why not. This will need a little space. I'm not entirely certain how much space. We'll find out together. So the first target. Tubes that lead, I guess, here. Of course, the farther I get from that shaft, the more expensive this part will be. No, that doesn't exactly work. I can't do that, because I need a gear straight through here, so that doesn't work. I know, I'm doing mysterious things again that make no sense. That's okay. They don't make any sense to me either. I can do this and have a Der Fat machine right here. And it ejects. This is the ejection side, this gray square, directly into this barrel. Master Axis and a Master Axis, both of which are pretty much connecting directly to shafts. And these two Master Axes need precise redstone signal amounts. Well, I already know how to do that. With these, is that pointed the right way? Yes. So the stack number in a single food item is 6 and 4. 4 times 4. The way that the thing works, the thingity thing. 4 times bottom speed and 4 times top speed. So to get a 4 saturation, that's 1. So this is a speed of 1. So multiplied by 4 to get a 4 saturation. To get 6, that's a bit more math. Grab your calculators, kids. 6 divided by 4 is 1.5. So this needs to be an output of 1.5. So we have a speed of 1.5, a speed of 1 to get to 4 and 6 respectively. And now I need to get power to these. First question, what does it take? Okay, 2 large gears apparently can connect side to side like that. That's all I needed to know. Now, how am I getting that power over here? And not just over here, but above and below. Specifically, there. And then the same thing up above. Oh hey, free iron. Always nice to see. This is where we start having Looney Tunes Powerhouse playing in our head at all times, as if that wasn't already the case. Technically, I think I can get the drive shaft I want right here, which actually won't interfere with this. Just pay no attention to the Enderman noises. They're friendly. They're with us. Well, for some values of with us. They're probably best described as indentured. Also a little brain damaged. Alright, that's power shaft 1. We need to connect over here to power shaft 2. Ow. Should have seen that coming. And this is what I need to get spinning. This shaft here. I think the best way to do that is to get a gear here. And a gear here. How's the ice doing? Stopped? Good. gear and gear. And gear. And now it's just a matter of which side of this axle we put the new gear on. Either side is not going to like what we're about to do here. Instant loss of speed. We have our speed of 1.5 and our speed of 1. And things here are gradually spinning up as we add energy to the golden gears. So now I just need to get a control lever here. To turn this thing off. And then we finish linking the fat tank. All the arrows have to point in the correct direction. Which they now do. Still have tons of liquid fat in here. And we have the capability of making more. Which I could replace all these regulator circuits with alchemy-based temperature regulators, which would make them a lot more consistent. Let me just turn this thing on. Whoa! Yeah, it crushes those out. But there we go. Stack number in a single food blob. Now I just have to make Cavorite. And my clone of the day would be nice. Cavorite is Aether and Densus. Densus is Emerald and Adamant. In an electric environment at basically room temperature. Emerald is a single emerald gem made from Fusas. I don't know what color Fusas is. Not exactly. Anyway, we've got the 6 and 4s here. What I could do is commit to destroying all of my food. just make superfood. So I can set this to 3. And set this to 4. And make some really overpowered food for our own use. This is not running at 4. But that is running at 3. And we are running... Wow. We drank all the fat. But hey, I have all this now. And maybe the saturation is too high. Two and 2.5. It can maintain at that. But we have run ourselves out of fat. That's okay, I have some superfood now. I only should need like 16 of these. The rest of these, of unfortunate value, I can just melt down. So this is for purposes, Bobo purposes. I should always process some of this iron, because this is a lot of iron. So you can... Uh-oh. You can't. We have lost far too much speed. This was kind of expected. This poor windmill is having a very tough time driving those 2 gold gears in the basement. It'll take a while for our stamp mill to work back up to 8+ speed. Hopefully it can get there. It just needs time to ramp up again. lots and lots of time. In the meantime, my fat stocks are rather low. So maybe I do want to change everything to regulators. They're cheap. 3 regulators. Did my math wrong again. Three regulators, spare heat cables just in case. Oh, and fuel. I knew I was missing something. I don't need the Wheeze won't ring again. I would just like it to. Okay, we have cables going on. First things first, the fat collector needs to be above 140. Which is basically replacing this coiled cable and all of this circuitry with this. And that should be all that is required to bring this thing up to 145 consistently. In fact, we no longer need most of these heat reservoirs. what's the optimal heat for the formulation of that? 98. It doesn't like to be at 100. But it wants to be as close to 100 as possible. So I'll just set these to 99. Which won't quite work because there's a bit of a loss rate here. Rip up all these circuits. And then this one here in the back. This can go higher. Before it needs to emergency yeet the heat out. Speeds are climbing. I could actually use these redstone circuits, these redstone wires, cables, to... I can reach those spaces. Now these two vats are toggleable. And I will put a reservoir there to smooth everything out. But only one, not three. Let's get heating. Including cooking this pocket food. Kind of funny that the scythe doesn't use durability. I could even regulate this, because it doesn't need to be higher than too much higher than 300. I guess it uses temperature at the same rate, though. I don't need quite this much on hand in the produce department. I don't know where that goes. No, that goes here. Potato's gonna potate, but let's go look at our heat system downstairs and make sure I haven't messed anything up. Shouldn't have. The heat sink the heat sink regulator still runs. You are at 144. Which is right where I want you to be. Can you melt these? No. So those special 64 blobs are kind of wasted. The rest of this food, though, I mean, just have a... Oh, it stays... So it melts the one at perfect temperature. And then the temperature starts dipping. So maybe I should raise it to 160. Now we'll push it up to 159. As high as it will go before it loses efficiency. And it tanks a little bit. But we're doing it. Melting food into fat to replenish our fat supply. Also, this temperature appears to be crashing. It is absolutely crashing. But that's why I have this regulator. So the temperature cannot fully crash. 3, 2, 1, and this stops working. But this continues to work as quickly as it can, because this tank is not allowed to empty. Well, we're going to get the rest of our potatoes very slowly. That is fine, though. I can hit this lever at any time and get a whole bunch of superfood. Speed here still slowly building. I think the superfood generator kills my speed, though. Let's see. Negative 371 rads. If I hit this, we get a bunch of superfood. No, that doesn't seem to have changed the speed appreciably. That windmill is still stubbornly making things climb back up. We have these wonderful 8-10 foods and a 12-12 food in pocket. Great stuff. If I bring some salt down, I can make more nutrient solution. Is there a hopper on this thing? There is none. Nor is there much room to cram one in. I mean, I could, but then I'd have trouble diagnosing it. I should hit it anyway. Because even though I don't need these systems to run right now and I'm not low on their materials, I do want to make sure it works. So there's your salt for the nutrient solution, which you will begin processing at minimal speed without heat. Now let's give you some. That takes it straight to 94. I don't want it at 94, I want it basically at 99. .105 only gets you to 96. 115 sends you over. 110 still over. 108. Perfect. I go 107 for a slight safety buffer. Yes. Or also therefore 107, because you're the same setup. And there we go. I'm not sure how much of this is brewed per tick. I can find out. 100 millibuckets per tick. 100 millibuckets per salt. So it's 10 salt for a bucket of solution. That's not that great. And our liquid fat stocks kind of suffer. I guess I'll just call it good there. Take out the fuel. Don't need this to be hot anymore. And everything works as designed. This is also something that could benefit from regulation. The redstone temperature regulator would basically turn this into a cheat. I can have the heat reservoir over there on the firebox. And then basically just admin the correct amount of heat. Just how much heat do you need? Straight into the regulator. That's how much you get. Eliminate this entire back area. Actually eliminate the constant and these two. But this failsafe would still be here. And I still need this heatsink for cooling. But then this wouldn't be part of this, so it would cool faster when needed. Could do that. But since I only get one clone a day for unknown reasons, there's no reason to go that far. So we're back to Cavorite for the Bobo thing. Aether and Densus. Densus, Emerald and Adamant. Creating Emerald is Fusas, which I don't know exactly how to make. So we'll just use Emerald. Electrified at basically room temperature to cold. It involves adamant, so it has to be in the crystal. And it's 3 adamant to 1 emerald. Is that in the present spinning thing? No, just electrified. One click too many. It goes in one dust at a time, but it comes out as the entire stack. There's my flask. Temperature 29. That's technically in range. It's close, but it's in range. Like over here, and that's a Tesla coil. That is not at all my reaction chamber. There's the flask. Battery in, battery out. Done. 32 Densus. What is Densus? It's solid all the time. What do we do with Densus? We make completely lossless, indestructible heat cables. Fascinating. And density plates. Density plates go into the flying machine with Kopshoium. We'll get to that, I swear. First of all, though, I have all this Densus. And Densus has to be aethered at... That is a temperature. That is a temperature only reachable with Densus cables. Yeah, 2000 to 2200. 2000 is when ceramic cables melt. Our lava loop has entirely recovered. Good. Let me trade out all these cables for fancy new alchemical blue ones that have no heat loss. Which will make this entire system significantly more robust. This one, I don't care. This one doesn't matter. That and this as well. This just has to reheat loop. because I took away all the conveniently hot cables. Oops. I hope that was just an ordinary plate. I think it was. There. To create a more perfect heat cable system. Now, about mixing that densus with Aether. 1 and 1 makes 1. And the Cavorite makes blocks. Does it do anything else? No. It just blocks gravity from gravity plates. And does the specialty thing that Bobo wants. So what are we thinking? About 5? Maybe 10. Why is this still not grown? That's been there a while. Come on, puff up. I need some cold here. Maybe this does need to be densus cable, so it doesn't just spontaneously uncold. There we go. 10 of that. Pour in 10 of that. That's a doops. I'm a dummy. This is a flask. I was supposed to do this in a file. So now we have 10 Aether. Densus, 10 Aether, at a temperature of yes. That's actually kind of particular. 2000 to 2200? That's a little specific. I could dispense with the regulator entirely and just connect this directly. Let's make it 2100. Boom, 2100 even. Now we'll get back in there. Take the flask at 2100. Insert the flask, electrify the flask. How did you go back there? And we have Cavorite. Cavorite is liquid above 1000, so this needs to be cooled again. Bam, cool. Cavorite chunks. And now Bobo's instructions were the gravity stop, the red metal, and the stack number in a blob. With a potato and the Rod of Madness. Well, that's an interesting item. Maxwell's Demon. Heats top to 2500. Cools bottom to negative 200. So this thing, yeah, it breaks the laws of thermodynamics. It just makes free temperature in both directions, making this lava loop interesting but no longer necessary. In fact, it makes all fuel systems completely unnecessary. I could run this steam thing. I can run a steam boiler for free. Except it heats at 5 degrees a tick. I think steam boilers consume more than that. Yeah, 5 degrees a tick is its minimum speed. Five degrees a tick also wouldn't run the Stirling. But I could just plug one right here. There goes the freezer box. Now the ice boxes are practically unnecessary. This one little monster can run the freezer and the fluid cooler and be fine. I could make another one, stick it under here on the heat side, and have this stuff running in theoretical perpetuity without needing the second firebox. One could go here. Unlimited heat works. Hello, Enderman. What are you doing here? It does not like me doing them in bulk. I could also cool this down to negative 200 at all times, largely for free. Wait, how is this still at 700 and change? Because reservoir and it's only losing heat due to the ceramic loss. What is heatsink back here set to? Maximum. Good. So take out second firebox. Install that. And our heat just starts flying up. We have this circuit back here to prevent our cables from melting. And we have permanent heat. This thing. Demon. Heats for free. And when it reaches 150, it fail-safes. I don't know why this is going up. Oh. Because it has a target. Maybe I could put a redstone regulator on this thing, just to make it function as fast as possible. At this point, there's no reason not to. Set via circuit signal, so it's an existing regulator with redstone addition. Regulator, redstone. There's definitely a call for more Densus cable, but I don't have enough Densus left. That's odd. This should be going higher and faster. I guess the demon is having trouble pushing heat into the reservoir. But this one isn't. Why is this one so slow? I have again forgotten that I can't do much if I don't have my wrench and my circuits and some nether quartz. The wrench might be nice too, but I think the wrench is fine. You get to be a Densus cable. You get to be a circuit-driven regulator. You are, of course, backwards. Why would you not be backwards? There we go. You get to be a normal cable. Our demon is now driving things to where it should be. And basically this just has to go here. Except this. Now it works for going up. I hope it works for coming back down again. And in the back here, we'll place the buffer. Which our demon-haunted circuit does not like. And our fears are true. This temperature cannot come back down. Not without a heatsink or something. If I place a heatsink, then it just plummets. And this cannot push it back up. For the simple reason that the Maxwell's Demon runs at 5 degrees a tick, and the heatsink pulls 5 degrees a tick. I guess the simple and obvious answer is Double Demon. I'm not going to put that there anyway. It doesn't like it. The temperature drops. But in due time, this should all balance out. In fact, because I'm using a regulator, I can raise this to 1,000, half the capacity of the ceramic cables. And this system will just, once the regulator is happy, or once the reservoir is happy, it can push the temperature as high as it needs to go. Keep this up to snuff. This isn't working. And it isn't working because the heatsink is connected and functioning full time. Alright, so this gets to where it needs to be, which is fine. brain, does not want to brain. Read. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. It's not pretty, but it functions. I need to be able to read this for temperature. And then get a signal somewhere that I can use for the heatsink. I don't think I can get a signal there. Unless I get redstone over the top of this, which I can, but then I can't redstone anywhere else. What about he... Lever powers the block. There. That doesn't turn this off, does it? I don't think so. Alright, there's our heatsink. But now I can't also read this. So the lever needs to be here. Second demon might not need. The trouble is I basically need to use every side of this specific cable. Which there are maybe ways to get away with. No. I need to read this one. So, reader, like so. I need a junction. And greater than less than. If back is less than side. If back is greater than side. Yes. No. What back is less than side? So if the necessary temperature is lower than the current temperature, since neither of these blocks actually lose heat, then I need to get a signal of 1 . I also need to not connect here. This is undesired. And I can't junction plate because this has to make a right turn. I could rotate this. And then we're looking at if back is greater than side. So if back, the current temperature, is greater than side, the needed temperature, then we get a signal of 1. I think that's what we need. I just have to get a repeater to to turn that signal of 1 into a signal of vanilla usable, so I can change altitude with it, or change height. This was supposed to be simpler. It is definitely not simpler. Also, don't need to be carrying around this camerite. Or that jar. Splice plate. And that looks like it connects, so it connects. And I just have to connect it right there. And that should do it. So we now have Daemon pushing the heat in this system up. And this is our available heat for heating this thing. When we need heat, it connects to the system via the regulator. Or rather, it's always connected. So the incubator sets the temperature of the regulator to the temperature it needs for increasing heat. For decreasing heat, we have a heat sink that kicks in only when necessary. With that little triumph, I need to step away for a minute. I'll be back shortly. Alright, I am back again. After having done a bunch of nonsense that I'm not even sure will work. I'm even less sure that it's worth the effort that we've just gone through to do it. But my temperature buffer here is well above anything will ever need to be. So let's prepare our daily clone and give it a test that way. Give us this day our daily clone, and lead us not into nonsense. Oh yeah, these potatoes go downstairs to be added to the fat system. Wrong one. That one. Actually, you are semi-permanently up to temperature now, so just take that. Brilliant. All into the liquid fat system. Our big heavy golden gears down here are chugging along. We have our magic food manufacturing system that unifies all food into perfect foodstuffs of our choosing. Now, theoretically, I could make a regulation system that that automates the Wheezewort here. Like a hopper down below to catch the seeds out of the farmland, an observer to detect when it grows, an observer at this height, so it would send one signal when it grows, and then a second update signal when it dies. And there are circuits in the essential circuits that can be used as counters. So I could have it watch for, first signal, second signal. And on the second signal, when it dies, I could have a piston break the seed, and then a dispenser plant a new seed immediately. And it would just be infinite absolute zero cold from this weird magic plant. So what are we cloning here? I think I'm looking for another wild pig. Yes, in the middle of the night. So, not the smartest thing. I could also clone a creeper, just to prove it's possible. And then have an eternal creeper that doesn't explode. I also have no idea how I got a spider web out of that spider. That definitely wasn't its head. Because we can chop spider heads. Also, I had no idea I'd been sleepless for so long that the phantoms could come out. We've just been home, building, constantly. Hi! Where'd you come from? I suppose I could have cloned one of those guys, but for what? Phantom membrane? It repairs elytras and makes slowfall potions. Phantom membrane repair kit. What does that even do? There's some materials like phantom membrane and ender pearl that I can make repair kits out of, and I just have to go, okay, but why though? Alright, I'm not seeing any pigs. So I think it's time to go... Fine. I forgot to have the blood bag in the offhand. But the intent remains the same. Whichever happens first, pig or creeper, that's what we're going with. Additional pork chop source or infinite gunpowder works. That's a spider. Doesn't it just figure, though? The one time I actually want creepers. And now I don't see any. Oh, there's one. He is behind the skeleton. Alright, you. Taking your blood. Yes, creepers have blood. Why is this even a question? Skeletons have blood, according to Crossroads. I have made wither skeleton clones in another pack. Okay. These things are getting more numerous. And I think a skeleton just shot that one. Nope. I am staying on my bridge. Phantom membrane. You know, it's as good a thing for this next slot as anything. Alright, we'll need a shot of immortality. A shot of distilled stupid. And a name tag. And a piece of charcoal for the lightning. Come on, you. Gotta spin faster than that. There we go. Acceleration engaged. Deterioration of 3, that's fine. Blood sample. Immortality. No rains. Unlimited spawn time. Blah. Doesn't despawn. Hi? Get lost. And lightning beam. Creeper embryo with reduced health. Made permanently passive. I'm not going to use nutrient essence to duplicate it, though I could and maybe even should. Yep, I should. Because now I have a demon running the freezer, so I might be able to chill more samples at once. In you go. When you're finished, I will dare to try another one. This one is kept shelf stable by being in the nutrient vat. It drains nutrient solution to do so, though. This one is not being fed by the nutrient solution, so it's just going to run out of time. I'm going to attempt to clone this one, or to egg this one. These two can go in here. Spawn egg. Temperature regulation system worked instantly, so that's good. Now in here we have just Creeper. He just kind of sits here, does nothing, pretends we don't exist. Knock him out for the free gunpowder. He'll be back. Does it work? Or will it give me nothing again? Would be great if this issue just kind of fixed itself. Nope. Obliterated. We still get only one egg per login. So Maxwell's demon isn't powerful enough to run a steam boiler by itself. Not really, anyway. I mean, it can run a steam boiler by itself, but not at any appreciable speed. This steam turbine is kind of stunted. I could put a demon right here, and the steam boiler would happily drain all the heat from it. And make the blast furnace work faster. I don't know if the blast furnace does work faster, though. We are still not up to 8 rads. This needs to be faster, because at its current speed, I don't think it works. It can, but there's a chance it doesn't. I suppose I can just kind of put up with that chance. There you go. Have fun crushing all the things. I can do some tin too while we're at it. Anything that comes out raw, I can just put right back through. basically, as I explained when I first placed this thing, there's a time bar and a progress bar. When the time bar expires, then the progress bar is the % chance that the process actually finishes. And if the progress bar gets to 100 before the time bar finishes, then it just completes the operation and resets anyway. At a 100% chance, there's no reason to bother with the timer. So we are having about half of our ores actually complete in this in the stamp mill. Maybe slightly more. And it's costing speed. Our poor windmill just can't handle what we're putting it through. Oh well. That is too bad, but that's just how things are going to be, apparently. So, we've done a lot of alchemy. We've done some remodeling. We've made densis and cavorite and a bunch of things. We haven't done a thing with flame grenades, which are mostly for terraforming. Theoretically, could be used to create large amounts of clay, I guess. Probably should make some of this stuff if I plan to mess around with flame grenades. Redstone, salt, and double alchemical salt. So now I have a fire extinguisher. I could also use crystal shells. Maybe 2. And 2 is probably pushing it. And what will we be doing with these phlogiston grenades that I couldn't just do with a gas grenade? Well, there's terraforming. I could do some block transmutations without changing biome type. Imagine transmuting all of our glass to glowstone in an arbitrary space. I could also get mycelium. I don't know why I care, but I could. Dirt to clay and rock to prismarine is a pretty big one, though. I could also just kind of get honey blocks from glass and everything else would be normal, would be fine. So I could do some Expandus. Expandus with sulfur dioxide. Expandus is what now? It's made from the 3 core colors. It looks pretty cyan. What color is Expandus? They're not. It's not normal reactions. Must have a Praxstone. Must be charged. Must have the right proportions to have the correct color. Aha! Associated with Beam Alignment. Eldraine, Fusas, Lumen, Stasisol, Magic, Voltus. Where's Expandus? Well, this doesn't mention all of the beam alignments. And I think there was one simply called Expansion. There it is. Way over there with... It's green and blue with basically no red. So I can make Expandus with no Phlogiston at all. I don't need much for what I'm planning. I'll just make 2. You are still cold. Fantastic. Crystal Vial, Frozen SO2, tip in the 2 Aether, take out the Frozen SO2, has to be electrified, can be done at any temperature. So let's put it here, room temperature. Crystal Flask, 2 Adamant, 2 Aether, the Praxstone, and let me get my battery so we can zap it. For Expandus, which solidifies well below. Just take my Praxstone, take my Expandus, and our plan is to make honey blocks out of crystal type blocks. It doesn't say what crystal type blocks are, but if it turns crystals to glass, then glass must be on the list. Glowstone and sea lanterns also on the list. Blue ice on the list, I guess. Sulfur dioxide to not change the biome. So we have our shells. Sulfur dioxide to not change the biome. Expandus to perform the block transmutation. Now one other reagent. One of alchemical salt to prevent block destruction. So that's important. One unit of and then as much Flog or Ignis as desired. Well, this is 17 Flog left. You can be a Flog type grenade. And you can be a water type grenade. And we'll see who's better. At transmuting positively silly amounts of glass. The millstone consumes speed as well. A lot more of that got changed, got ground down than I expected. Alright, so effects. Unlike beam effects, release reagents, liquids, gases. Gases will not apply solid or liquid effects. So can I get all of these up to gas? SO2 becomes a gas at room temperature. Expandus becomes a gas above 1600. Salt becomes a gas at 1400. And ice becomes a gas much below. So Expandus is our holdout here. I just have to make this 2000. And this being phlogiston makes no real difference. SO2, Expandus, salt, water, put it in the shell. SO2, Expandus, salt, a bunch of Flog that empties the Flog. Oh yeah, because this is a flask. I put this in the shell, what happens? What? Where is it? It's all gone? No, something is broken. can't access anything anymore. A single server tick has broken. This is starting to look like a crash log, but we're not crashed. Something has exploded. Not literally. Yeah. My output log is screaming at me in languages I don't understand. So I guess all I can do is bring it down and back up again. And see what we've done wrong, and see if it's broken permanently. If it is, then I'm not going to be too broken up about it. There's always the option of returning to Crossroads on its current version, on a closer to modern Minecraft version. Because the errors we're running into here on 1.19.2 are allegedly fixed in newer builds. They just aren't on 1.19.2. And Tinker's Construct, which 1.19.2 is as high as it goes, I believe, currently, we've been through. It has nothing new to show us. Let's make sure of that. Yeah, Tinker's Construct's highest stable build is here on 1.19.2, which is why I'm running on 1.19.2. It has some alphas and betas on 1.20, but I don't trust alphas and betas a lot of the time. Crossroads, meanwhile, is released all the way up on 120.1 on NeoForge. So if we were to go back to Crossroads to fully explore everything it has, 1.20.1 would be the way to go. And I'd build some other pack to figure that out. Right now, though, I just don't understand what's going on in my output log. I think it's broken. This world may be toast. It may not save. I have no idea what's going on. A lot of things referencing a fork join pool, which I have no idea what that means. And something's also mad about the sound daemon waiting on something. So I guess that's gonna do it, I suppose. If it's frozen, inoperable, and refuses to save, we're close to 4 o'clock. That's as good a time as any to call it. We can see what it looks like tomorrow. And if alchemy is, or if the technomancy branch is even worth looking into. At least given our current buggy conditions. So yeah, that'll do it for now. And we'll explore more next time. And we'll definitely return to Crossroads on a more recent version of the mod. And hopefully it's more stable. And also hopefully I'm less nuts about where to put all my power transfer and things. But we'll find out, won't we? Until next time.